Happy Tuesday. It's time for Coffee and Cursey Words. I'm very excited to talk about something different today, right? Right? We're talking about some important topics and a wild story. Deep fakes, cheerleaders, parents gone wild, and the laws that are struggling to keep up with our ever-changing technology. And then we're going to throw it open to discussion with questions and talk about maybe what we want to see happen here, and then the awareness that needs to come with the fact that this is a present and changing technology. So that's what we're doing today. Of course, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping for the replay crew. You know I love you. There will be timestamps down below of when we get into the elite cheerleader story, when we get into Q&A, and when we get into just a discussion of deep fakes themselves. So are y'all ready to hop on in? I'm ready to hop on in. It's Tuesday. We've got a lot to cover. Let's get into it. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the Cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. Hello, everybody. I've said hello like twice. We are going to get to court of public opinion in just a minute because we have a ruling from Friday, but a few housekeeping. I'm late on updating new merch. I know, it's coming. If you follow me on social and in the text crew, I will let you know. I got a little delayed yesterday. I wasn't expecting to be live yesterday. It just happens. Sometimes we have to ride and we want to talk about other stuff. So today, when I throw it open to questions, if you guys have questions about topics that are not this, normally we try to keep it topical with the video. Today, if we have other questions, we'll get into other questions for sure. We didn't do a ton of questions when I was live yesterday, and we're just going to get into court of public opinions, get into this crazy story out of Pennsylvania, and then my thoughts and experiences with cyber criminal law, what we're doing, and just what comes next with this, because the conversation is big and legal is a conversation, and we're here for those conversations. Amy, absolutely. The live came first. Look, when you want to know how much of this I do myself, a lot of it is done myself. So that is what it is. Welcome. I know. New stuff is coming. I will let you know. It is totally my fault. I got delayed. And that is completely on me. Allie, welcome to the live. Police wife life, be mindful while driving, while listening. Aubrey, welcome to the live. It's good to see you guys. Tuesday is a chill stream. We generally talk about multiple topics. This is a kind of big topic, and it's one news story, but it's a bigger topic. And that's why I kept it to one topic. Also, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions and discussions. No shade to Pennsylvania. It just is where this is happening. So let me know what you're drinking this morning. I have coffee. This is first sip. I saved first sip for y'all. I have not even had any coffee yet. Yes, we can absolutely blame Babs for the late merch drop, but it's totally not Babs's fault. It's my fault. I should have had it done in advance, and I got delayed with kittens and kids and all the things. So Patty Franks, absolutely happy birthday. If you're in the text crew, you should have gotten a birthday message from me. I don't think I sent one yesterday. So for everybody whose birthday was yesterday, I'm sorry. Hello from South Korea. I will try to remember our international audience when I give the legal words and then the Emily definition of the words, just to help. Cherry Coke for the win. That is one of my son's favorites. So yay that your uni meeting ended early, so you made it. We've got big discussions today. I love seeing because we're all over the world, all different times of day. So coffee, Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola. Coke is my favorite of the sodas, but I also like it mixed with orange. I like an orange Coke, not a vanilla Coke, an orange Coke. An orange Coke. Dana said, Pennsylvania man is starting to resemble Florida man as Pennsylvanian. I find this concerning. I don't think this particular story that would happen in Pennsylvania. I think this could happen anywhere. I don't think this is Pennsylvania specific. Happy birthday, Maud Patty. There we go. Thank you, Jessica. I don't know if this is a choice I would make, Elizabeth. Out of creamer, so this morning it's Mountain Dew. I don't know if I would make that jump, but I get it. I also make bulletproof coffee, so creamer's not really an issue for me, but I need a cold brew. It's been a few days, so tomorrow I will be getting an Irish cream cold brew just like Dr. Riley. I will be doing that for sure. So good to see what everybody's drinking. Shall we get into court of public opinion and then just get right into Mom's Gone Wild here on the I can't even say Mom's Gone Wild on the YouTube. We're actually not talking about YouTubers today. On Friday, I will talk about the other YouTuber beauty-related defamation suit, but I felt like we all just needed a minute to not talk about YouTubers, right? Like a minute. We've talked a lot about YouTube stuff. This is like bigger societal stuff and questions that we're going to keep fighting with, and something I think every person needs to hear because we need to keep talking about this. So let's get into court of public opinion and then right into this news story and then into questions. Oh, Jess, I've got a highlight on my Instagram about it. Bulletproof coffee is a whole situation, but it is a concoction from Dave Asprey. It includes blending coffee with butter and MCT oil. It's like it's like a coffee smoothie, and some people do it with keto, some people do it with intermittent fasting. It's a whole thing. Sarah, welcome to the channel. You guys, can I tell you how much I love Tuesdays? It's so good to see everybody. Chanley said these YouTubers are exhausting. Like, it's a whole, when you talk about national news stories, like there's a lot less mess with it. Like there are people who agree or disagree with the stuff that's going on with Tom Girardi. There are people who are like, lay Erica out, fuck that bitch. I hate what she's posting on Instagram. And then there's people who are like, I don't know what Erica knows. This whole thing is like tragic and sad and whatever, all of the things. But when we talk about YouTubers, the level of intensity like dials it up to 10, and we all needed to step back from that. And even though we talk about on this channel, we're here to talk about the laws and the stories. We're not here to foster build hate trains. We're here to build sometimes monuments to the gods of speculation, but we're also here to talk about the law and learn the law together through stories we're familiar with and entertained by. But when it comes to YouTube, depending on the creators we're talking about, it can just get so toxic online, and there is so much. So I am happy to take a step into something else. The thing, I don't argue with people about their feelings on the internet because people's feelings are their feelings. Feelings are not your facts, but feelings are information. And if somebody feels a certain way, they feel a certain way. I'm not going to be like, you're wrong for feeling that way. Feel the way you want to feel. I'm not going to engage in arguing over feelings. The only time it gets frustrating for me is when I'm like, but I actually didn't say that. Like, I actually didn't say that, but I didn't, And so when creators that I talk about in my video are like, well, Emily said this and that, I'm like, but I didn't though, but I didn't. But perception being what it is, the law nerds know what has been said and what has not been said. And we don't argue with people's feelings. Like, that's just not, people's feelings are their feelings. So when people are out of their feelings, then we can talk about facts, but that goes on to the whole discussion about critical thinking that we've already done. You are welcome for a break and a distraction. So bulletproof coffee is like rocket fuel coffee. Yes. Yes, it is. I found bulletproof coffee when I was going through adrenal fatigue, and adrenal fatigue was absolutely something that I struggled with quite a lot. It's one of the factors that played into me leaving the district attorney's office. And I found Dave Asprey through his story with regard to bulletproof. I found this concept of biohacking. Somebody's going to timestamp this as Emily rambling about coffee. Go, yes, it is. I found Bulletproof through Dave Asprey's story with adrenal fatigue. Look, I only know my own journey. It was a long journey. I will share that more. I mean, lots of medical specialists, lots of feeling really shitty, but biohacking was a new concept to me. And from my personal experience, I found that women, and this happens to men too, but I found that growing up as a young girl, we're taught to not necessarily trust our bodies and our inner voices, not to always trust if you feel hungry, not to trust if you feel shy, not to trust if you feel angry because you're too much, you're too loud, you're too this, you're too that, you're not fitting into a mold. Now, I didn't grow up as a young man, so I don't know how that override culturally works for young dudes. I try not to foster that in my home because I'm like, you're feeling what you're feeling, but I might need you to dial it down and let's like take a breath. But the concept of biohacking is really tuning into your body and being able to find a way to listen to your body better. So if you eat food and then like your throat starts to feel like you're like, oh, maybe that doesn't work for me. If you feel hungry, eat. If you don't feel hungry, don't eat. Concepts that should be easy, but after a lifetime of trying to not listen to my body and not feel all the feelings, it took a little bit of relearning to actually hear my body, to hear not just hunger cues, but inner voice, intuition, and to not just keep overriding, because in a very hectic career, you override being tired, you override being stressed, you override yourself all the time instead of listening to those things. And I think particularly Americans, we are taught to override stress, to override exhaustion, to just push. And I pushed until I broke. And that's when I found Bulletproof, and Bulletproof coffee has absolutely stayed with me. I am much more relaxed with my eating than I have been in the past because I have a much healthier relationship with my body and listening to my body. I know what works for me. I know what doesn't. Sometimes I don't care. And that's okay too. Oh, I'm sure Lewis House does have, I'm sure he has more than one with Dave Asprey. I became a certified Bulletproof coach. I went through all the learning because I was very interested in the science behind it. I never really anticipated being like somebody who was coaching others in wellness. I didn't feel comfortable with that, but I do like to know things. And so I went through that coaching program to learn all the things because it was very, very interesting. Frank says, adrenal fatigue has affected my back pain. Yes. And has been an important part of managing pain. Yes. So, Bob and Carrie Kennedy said, best Bulletproof is with homemade fresh spring butter. I wish that was my life. And after that, life will never be the same. It's super easy to make your own butter in a KitchenAid mixer or mason jar. I will have to figure that out because that sounds incredible. We use Irish butter over here. So yeah. It's good. Rachel lets us know that we have a stream on this. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. I'm sure I've talked so much on the internet. I'm sure that I do. Lynn says, I am disabled and I try to push off listening to my body because I'm a people pleaser. I do that too. I don't do that as much anymore. The shoulding and the obligation is really hard to get over, especially if you run towards burning yourself out. We absolutely can, Jacqueline, walk through this in a separate stream, in a more personal type of a stream. For sure. Yes, Dave Asprey has recipes for like bulletproof tea and other types of stuff. And then there are other options as well. So, court of public opinion, since we're talking about butter, let's talk about the court of public opinion. We're going to go to the post on YouTube first, and everybody's like, I need more information on this. Well, this one I didn't give more information because I was curious to see the comments on the court of public, the COPO, and we're just going to get into it. We're going to do the YouTube poll first, and then we're going to go to the poll on the Twitters. So let's go. All right, court of public opinion. Let's pull this bad boy up. I know. Should I have had it up? Yes. Was I drinking coffee and rocking out to the court of public opinion music instead? Yes. Yes, I was. And yes, at my house, we say yes, yes, I was a million times over because we are frequent, and by frequent, I mean like frequent watchers of the Phineas and Ferb, and we love it. Court of public opinion, you can only keep one, Ketchup one. What? What? How? How did Ketchup smash with 38%? Where are my ranch people? But Ketchup smashed with 38% of, if you had one condiment, Ketchup is going to be at 17,000 votes, Law Nerds. I appreciate you. Now, I realize people were like, how did hot sauce not make the list? For me, these are the like basic condiments. And if we're going to get into like a deep fight with condiments, then we would get into our, sriracha and other things. But I'm only allowed 4 options, which is why we ended up with a Batman runoff. So 4 options made it hard to narrow down. And these are kind of your basic US condiments. I realize in other countries that, you've got your brown sauce, you've got your Marmite, Vegemite, fish sauce, all kinds of stuff. So it is very fun to have a conversation about condiments and see the way that you guys thought through the problem. Mustard's the most versatile. I like it. People who choose mayonnaise, I will never get along with y'all. And then conversations about mayonnaise. Why do you feel attacked? Don't feel attacked. Mayo is the base of just about everything. Yes. And without mayo, you can't really have chicken salad. Though I would argue you can make chicken salad with ranch. You can make most things with ranch. And yes, if you wanted to keep mayo and make ranch, I suppose that one could do that as well. So mustard, because you can make spicy mustard, honey mustard, and such. I love that you all were like, which is the most versatile? Which is the most versatile? You can make ranch. Yes, you can. But mustard is a bitch to make on its own. So I'd go with mustard because ketchup you can make on your own. That makes sense. It makes sense. There's a specific mustard, Weber's horseradish mustard, made in Buffalo, New York, which I have never heard of, but it sounds like it might drain your nose because so there were lots of votes. Whoever voted ranch, I don't trust you. Look, if I can only keep one, ranch might be it for me too. I get it. But because you could put it on sandwiches, but with mayo, could you turn mayo into ranch? Yeah. But is ketchup a base for a lot of things? Yeah. And from articles I've read, ketchup tends to be the most purchased condiment in the United States, but like sriracha and mayo kind of make a run for it in there. So there are a lot of comments. Ranch is losing to mayo and ketchup. I know. I feel personally attacked as well because ranch is my favorite. Mayo's a staple, and I get it. Because a sandwich with mayo is not the same as a sandwich with ranch. Let's go to the Twitter poll and see what the results are over there and see how close they are. So ketchup won with 38% of the vote. Let's get into the Twitter poll. And it's so interesting to me when these align because it's totally different audiences and people who vote. I know there's some crossover, but we definitely get more of a sample on the YouTube community tab. But it's 35% for ketchup, then mayonnaise, then ranch, then mustard. And that's about what we saw in this poll too. Ketchup, then mayonnaise, then ranch, then mustard. So the numbers are pretty close, even though this is a smaller sampling, which is, fascinating to me because it's just like, okay, mustard or ketchup is clearly, 38% with 17,000 votes, 35% with over 3,000 votes. Ketchup's the winner of the court of public opinion. If you can only have one condiment, the law nerds believe that ketchup is where your money is. So for this, you can only have one. The overwhelming majority of law nerds pick ketchup. However, that doesn't mean you have to get rid of it. Raymond Eugene said, Emily, can you give a shout out to whoever does your thumbnails? Their Photoshop game is in point. Shout out to Emily who does her own thumbnails. I use Canva because I'm basic. So those are Canva skills. Those are not, there's no deep secret here. I make my own thumbnails. because when I say I do things on a lot on my own, we've got the mods here to help. Tech Valor helps me with editing and our sassy intros and transitions. But I do my own research for topics. I do my, tagging, uploading, all that stuff is me. In the future, I'm not saying that it won't be, but for now, it's me. So yes, I do my I do my thumbnails. I really love I love YouTube and I love doing YouTube and I love understanding YouTube. So I'm still finding my way with how I want my thumbnails to look, what the analytics show on how people click and don't click. I also am more focused on community necessarily over views. So community is what I'm really focused on with building here. I want to have a conversation and a connection with the law nerds. So for me, making sure that the thumbnails convey what we're talking about to the people who enjoy watching me is what's most important. It's not like somehow we're going to game the click-through rate. I know that's a big part of YouTube. It's not my primary focus on YouTube because having a community of law nerds blows me away still. And people being willing to have conversations about the law across all different kinds of topics is so encouraging to me, and it's so uplifting to me that we can actually change the way conversations happen on social media and change the way conversations are happening in general, because we can start to have the conversation of, okay, my feelings are this, the law is this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about where the differences are. And we're going to get into that today too, because I think that even with the Toddy Westbrook stuff yesterday, people were feeling disappointed. And some of it's like, there's like a win here or a loss there. But at the end of the day, the ruling's the ruling. The judge said it's not enough. And then we move forward. And so it's interesting to go, oh, my feelings about this are this, but what does the law say? What does the court say? And kind of be able to parse between the two. And we're going to have to do that today too, because the facts in this case are bad. But at this point, they are allegations. So as we get into talking about this case, these are allegations. I have linked the press conference from the district attorney's office discussing this, and I have linked the news story from today talking about this, where one of the minors involved speaks to the news about her experience with this, and that's what we're talking about. So let's just get into deepfakes and cheerleaders. Because deepfakes and cheerleaders. Now, for our international audience, cheerleading in the US is a multifaceted thing. Cheerleading in the US is the cheerleading you might see in a movie like Varsity Blues. God, I'm old. I'm sure there's others, but the high school cheerleading at a football game with skirts and pom-poms and stuff. You will also see cheerleading at like the HBCUs with more like a step team where you get like this incredible, historical Black colleges. Sorry, I'm like using acronyms and I'm like, everybody might not. You might see stuff like that in like the movie Drumline kind of covers that type of cheerleading. So there are different types of cheerleading. And yes, my favorite ever high school cheerleading movie, the chat is already on it, is Bring It On. We cheer and we lead. I swear I'm not on speed. I said, burr, it's cold in here. I can't, that's why I'm not a cheerleader. Do you see what just happened there? I have no beat, none. And I was a drummer. I can't use this and this. Burr, it's cold in here. I said, there must be some toros, clovers in the atmosphere. Okay. Anyway, cheerleading, high school cheerleading, football game cheerleading, that is one part of cheerleading. Unicorn Blush had the best high school ever because you had a step team, cheerleader, color flag, and dance team. Step teams are the greatest fucking thing on earth. No shade to cheerleading, but I love step teams so much. I was on color guard, so tall flags. That's where I was. You saw the beat and the singing, can't do it. Can't do it. Also, not my crew of people in high school. And I still wanted to hang out with the band, and the flag team hangs out with the band. So high school cheerleading, one aspect of cheerleading. But there's also like Netflix documentary cheer level cheerleading. And there is a competitive cheerleading that resides in competitive cheer gyms. Now, Cheer, the documentary, was about um, a junior college competitive cheer team, but there are also cheer gyms that have competitive programs that go around the country and compete in that type of cheerleading that's like cheernastics. It's not high school side of the sideline football game cheering. It is in a gym, ESPN competitive cheering. And that is a whole nother level. This comes out of a cheer gym cheerleading program. And so when you look at things like the Cheer documentary, you can see how competitive and difficult that level of cheer is with the tricks and the towers and the stunts. Early on in COVID, I worked with a number of clients who are cheer gym owners trying to figure out COVID restrictions in cheer gyms, what people could do, what people could and could not do. The fact that parents wanted their kids to be doing tumbling runs in the backyard at home and whether an instructor could be doing that over Zoom, what the potential liability was that. I have a friend who runs a large competitive cheer gym in Ohio. So I have some familiarity with competitive cheer from like the gym owner side of it, but not from the parent side of it. That said, I have known psycho sports parents. I have not been a psycho sports parent. Why? Because I'm like, look, kid, if you really want to do this, you need to drive this bus. I will drive you wherever you want to go. I will make your sports dreams come true. But if you don't want to do it, I'm not going to jockey this horse into a competitive sport because I do not, frankly, have the energy to ride your ass to do it. But if you say, I want to do it, then I am 100% behind you. And when it sucks and it's hard and you want to quit, I will remind you why you wanted to do this in the first place, which is how we ended up in competitive archery. But that's a whole nother conversation. So competitive cheer, gym cheer is a thing separate from like your traditional high school. Now, those things can crossover. Lots of cheerleaders in the room. Being a flyer seems terrifying to me. Good on you, D. Seems terrifying. Yeah, but a whole thing. So for our international crew, this kind of gave us all of the background and all of the information. So yes. Southern California cheer is ruthless. Look, I will say I have seen politics play out in kids' sports in things like water polo. It's also ruthless. I think in cheer, there are more people coming to the sport, which makes it more like the more people you have involved in a sport, the more ruthless it gets. But you see this in baseball too. You see this, I'm sure, internationally in other sports as well. So there was also a joke in Bring It On about, mothers would kill to get their kids on squads. And the mom is like, she didn't kill anybody, sweetie. She hired someone to kill someone. But there have been cases where parents have for sure crossed the line in kids' sports. But we've also seen this in ice hockey. We've seen this in all different kinds of things. Michael's asking, what's a flyer? A flyer is the small human that is thrown around at the top of pyramids and things. So the ones flying through the air are the flyers. And if you guys haven't watched Cheer on Netflix, you can see exactly how competitive this is, but also how much dedication it takes. So though I may make jokes, I will never make fun of cheerleading. I could never do that shit. It looks hard as fuck. Like never, ever. So water polo was tough. Cheerleading also tough. Like at least I didn't have to look cute while I was getting injured. So that's my thoughts on that. I was a competitive cheerleader through NCAA for years and was always the flyer because I'm 5 foot tall on a good day. Loved it, but it could get very competitive. It does get very competitive. And the thing is that parents get caught up in it too. And that's what this case is. So this case comes out of Pennsylvania, and I put the news articles in the show notes, but I'll just pull it up real quick because as we're talking about it, The headline is Cheerleader's mom accused of using deepfakes to harass a girl on the team. Yikes. Also has nothing to do with Michelle Obama. This is like the next video that ran after their video. I don't even know. But here's what happened. Is there an image of the woman? Nope. It was in this. It completely clicked to in a video. Let's see if we can refresh it. But this woman used a deep fake of other kids on the team. So I should probably back up and talk about what deep fakes are. Deep fakes are computer generated technology that go beyond something like a face swap, that actually make it seem as if the person is doing a thing. So a deep fake is a computer generated image that makes it look like it's the person. And this mother, 50-year-old woman in Pennsylvania, deepfaked 3 girls on the team to make it look like they were doing things like vaping, drinking naked, that they were doing things that were against the gym's code of behavior. Why is this a problem? Well, A, obviously making it seem like minors are doing things they're not doing is a problem, but B, she sent it to the coaches at the gym, seemingly to get these girls kicked off of the team. Again, these are criminal allegations. She has not been arrested. She has been charged with 2 different misdemeanors, 3 counts each, 1 for each girl that this happened to. But she also sent the videos to the minors with statements like, you should probably just end yourself. You shouldn't be on this team, things like that. And the district attorney's statement says that she used masking technology to use a fake phone number to send these messages to the girls. And when the one girl who spoke to the media, Maddie Heim, talked about it on Today, what she said is that she was afraid to bring it up to her mom because she was afraid no one would believe her because it was on video. And this is where we get into that shame and victim shaming that we've talked about in other cases, that you feel like, oh my God, who do I even talk to about this? One of the cheer coaches actually brought it to the girls' attention. So for the cheer coach to bring it to the girls and be like, hey, tell me about this is a really great thing, instead of just dragging the parents in and being like, your girls are being suspended from this team. The coach actually investigated it, probably speculation, not in the news story, but I have coached kids. And I would imagine it's because the coach knew the kids and was like, this is out of character. Or if the kids are doing this, I need to intervene because I don't want to see my kids going down this road. And the kids were like, it's not us. And the mother of the daughter who has spoken up said, I felt really helpless to do anything, but I believed my child. And this is why I say, when people tell their stories, believe them. I mean, that goes hand in hand with, and when people show you who they are, also believe them. But when your kid comes to you and says, there's these videos of me and it's not me, as a parent, the first thing to do is say, you know what? That might be accurate. There might be a video of my child vaping, drinking, adulty thinging, and it might not be them. But that's not just for minors. This happens to celebrities in the adult film space where they are deep faked into adult films. This happens with revenge adult imagery where people are using deep fakes to gain a leg up, either at work, in divorce cases, in lawsuits, things like that. So this is not just in this realm. This is the first time we're seeing it on the news, being weaponized against teens on a cheerleading team. So what we're seeing now is that the technology has become so readily available that this isn't just something you hire out on the dark web. This is something you can do with phone apps, and easily do with phone apps. The district attorney who gave the press conference said it has taken us months. This happened in July. It has taken us months. Last July, March, almost months to track this back. And Diana asks a great question. The police tracked it back to her phone, and it took them from July to now to do it. The fact that this happened in Pennsylvania is probably a very good thing because their police force actually took it seriously and actually did something. But you can't, this mother is being prosecuted. You can, and I will get into that because I've gone all over with describing deep fakes. So you can't just find the information. Louisa says, wow, this is awful to do. I did cheerleading when I was younger, and some of the girls would talk about what their parents asked them to do, such as accidentally injure other girls. Yeah, that's right. This is the next level of like a Tanya Harding type situation, isn't it? This is parents taking it the next level. The thing that makes me, there's a lot that makes me sad about this. One of the things that makes me sad about this is the daughter of the mother that's now being prosecuted didn't know this was happening. So this daughter is now, I mean, it feels like a Scarlet Letter situation. Like this daughter is now also a victim of what her mother has done because it doesn't seem by any evidence she asked for this or she knew what was going on. Similar for me, like the kids in the college admission scandal that did not know what their parents were doing. The kids who did know and posed for fake pictures, I have a whole different thought about. But the kids who did not know, what does that say to your children? I don't trust you enough to achieve on your own, so I have to cheat for you, including telling children to literally kill themselves because I want you to have this thing and I don't think you can get it on your own. Like that absolutely speaks to the parent not trusting the child. We have to trust our children. And we have to be there for them when they fuck up because part of being a child is messing up. And I feel like we have gotten to the point where as a online society right now, there's no room for error. There's no room for error. And I know our kids feel that too. And this is why you see these kids saying, I didn't even know who to tell that it was fake. I was afraid. And didn't know what to do because I didn't think I would be believed because it's on video. And this is where we're going to end up with this horrible intersection of kind of cancel culture. And there's a difference for me between holding somebody accountable for shitty behavior or for illegal behavior and just canceling people. No questions asked, no conversation, no critical thought. No, is this true? Just like done. There's a difference for me, but we're looking at a time where the things that we see might not be true. And it is going to be very difficult to navigate what is and is not true, because as much as people can manipulate this in saying, oh, a deepfake video has gone out and it's doing this and that, there's also room for people who actually do really messed up shit to be like, that wasn't me. That was deep faked. The thing is, deep fakes leave marks, but our law enforcement is so strapped that there is no, for a lot of law enforcement, there isn't the money or the resources to track these things down and to track down all of the subpoenas it takes to find the crumbs that deep fakes leave to find the person doing it. So as we're talking about deep fakes, I'm going to show you deep fakes that have been getting quite popular on TikTok in just a second for those of you that have not seen them. And we're going to talk about that too. Texas had a mom who hired a hitman over cheerleading. Yeah, we talked about that. There was a joke about it in Bring It On to kill her daughter's competition. And again, this is a parenting problem, right? This isn't children saying, I want to do this at any cost. I mean, maybe sometimes a little bit, but I don't think any kid is like, oh yeah, mom, go ahead, threaten my teammates, make it look like they're drinking naked. I just don't see kids doing that. And if kids come to you and are like, I want to do this, you're like, okay, this is why that's a terrible fucking idea. What we're not going to do is that. It's our job to trust our kids and then to help them make good choices because their brains aren't developed yet. So let's take a look real quick at deep fakes that have been taking TikTok by storm, because if you haven't seen this yet, I think it might be a little bit surprising. And if it is surprising, you're going to get a real good image and a real good education on what deep fakes are. So hopefully you can hear this. Oh,
the real thing. I mean, it's all the real thing.
but it's not. That's deep fake Tom Cruise. Deep fake Tom Cruise is a deep fake TikTok. This video of Tom Cruise, not actually Tom Cruise, has 12 million views. This isn't Tom Cruise.
You guys cool if I play some sports?
Not Tom Cruise. This is deep fake technology.
More for the audio experience.
I also think it's illegal, but Tom Cruise hasn't sued, so, you know. He also looks a little taller than Tom Cruise, I think, but...
Hey, listen up, sports and TikTok fans. If you like what you're seeing, just wait till what's coming next.
Also, if he's not monetizing the TikTok, that becomes something different. But you can see this one, I think you see a little bit of where the deep fakes, wobble as he's interacting with a lollipop. You see a little bit of where the masking has an issue. But you guys, these are, for somebody who's just kind of looking at these real quick, you would be like, oh, it's passable. Like if you weren't really paying close attention, you wouldn't know. I had no idea H3 had talked about these. It's a good thing to talk about. Yes, I think that the deepfake Tom Cruise is a good illustration of how scary the tech is. Yes. And the tech that is changing. And I think deepfake Tom Cruise, again, if the parody also younger, if they're not monetizing this, it still skirts legality. But I also think it's an important teaching moment.
Yeah. Every now and then I like to treat myself.
So the technology is that you've got sunglasses coming off and on, and now you've got stuff going in and out of the mouth. But these, I'm assuming, are not the person who's making these actual teeth, because those are Tom's teeth.
Because discipline. Oh my God.
This is the only one that wobbles a little for me.
I think there's bubblegum chocolate. That's incredible. How come nobody ever told me there's bubblegum?
I also think it's funny.
Incredible. Oh, yeah.
So that's what this technology is, to the point where it's very, very accessible. You can deep fake voices. So there is, there are videos, multiple videos showing how you can deep fake voices. There are programs that create algorithms to deep fake a voice based on other voice snippets. And the thing with celebrities, and it's not even celebrities, because how much do we all talk online? Well, me more than most, but for fucking ever. I've seen the comments. I know I talk forever, but you can use voice clips and string them together to then say, I say it into it and another voice comes out. So you can deep fake voices and images. And so we can see the masking on the last one when he's engaging with the lollipop, but only really if you're paying attention. If you were just scrolling at night through this, you might not know that that's a deep fake. Yes, they've called it deep Tom Cruise. Yes, there are these little differences, but it's good enough that if you weren't aware that this was a thing that existed, you could just be like, oh, damn. Now, this is not just being used in culture like a TikTok that's for fun. This has been used with deepfake voices to transfer monies from companies. There was a company that lost $10 million due to a bank transfer because somebody deepfaked the CEO's voice. There have been deepfake cases of revenge adult video, which is extremely problematic. But in the adult video section, because if I say the popcorn word, I will get immediately demonetized. But there are lots and lots of celebrity popcorn videos where the celebrity did not make it and did not consent. But then we also see this technology in the Star Wars movies where they brought back like Grand Moff Tarkin long after the actor had been dead. So part of this conversation is, okay, well, if actors sign away their likeness, can studios continue to make movies with them forever because they signed away their likeness? So they're not reading a script. They're not reading the lines. They're not engaging in the work or consenting to the work because they signed away the right to their likeness. What if musicians sign away their right to their likeness? Like, you see the fight with Kanye West of, I don't want to put out any more, music. But if Kanye West signed away the right to his voice, I don't think he did. It's an example. Could a studio then say, oh, we can just remake, we don't need you. You signed away the right to your voice. We'll just make it anyway. They did this with, they've done this with aging and rapidly de-aging and aging people in different movies, including the Marvel movies. But this, yes, absolutely, with Paul Walker in The Fast and the Furious. But this is something that we're seeing more and more outside of Hollywood. In Hollywood, it was a way to bring back characters, to bring back actors, or to even create promos and photo shoots without actually having to fly the actor to the place. You just deep fake their face onto something else and are like, here's the whatever it is. But now we're getting into this technology being accessible to everyone and on a smartphone. So what are the laws doing about it? With regard to the Cheerleader case, which I think all of you are like, this is disgusting. The actions alleged with this woman of making deep fake videos of teens doing things to get them kicked off of a cheerleading team is appalling behavior. But the thing is, she's charged with 2 misdemeanors. She hasn't been arrested. She's not going to be arrested. She's been charged by, paper. They paper charged. She's been charged with the crimes and it hit the national media. So she's been charged with 3 counts of cyber harassment of a child and harassment because those are the only laws that they have available to them that fit. And those are both misdemeanors. So for the violation felt by the teens and their parents versus what the ultimate punishment will be, I don't know what the right fit is to make people who suffer with this whole. How do you fix this when somebody's done it and it's out there? That's the same with the revenge popcorn, because it's not you. So yes, maybe you can use some of the civil laws with regard to defamation or intentional infliction of emotional distress or misappropriation of likeness, but you still can't undo the fact that this is now out there potentially connected to your name. And it's really used in the shaming people and everyday people, not just celebrities. With the Tom Cruise deep fake, is it a misappropriation of his likeness? Yes, he's a public figure. So is it for an exploitative purpose? I don't know. If they're not monetizing it, it could be very hard for Tom Cruise, if he wanted to get that taken down. So, question with regard to the Pennsylvania case, if it's a teenager, is that child P? We've talked about this with regard to other cases. Because I have not pulled up the particular laws in Pennsylvania with regard to this, but the image was not made for a sexual purpose. It was made to discredit. So the intent of the creation of the photo and the distribution of the photo matter in the laws regarding that. And we've talked about that with connection to the YouTuber Gabby DiMartino, who sold her own photo of her as a child. And we talked about what those laws were. And we also talked about this with sending back and forth explicit images. So that is why I think they did not charge her with manufacturing or distributing, because I don't think that the images were suggestive. So it was used to discredit. And that's where the laws are out of step sometimes with the behavior that we're seeing happen. So seeing, something like this where it's like, oh, there's these images and we don't know what the images contain. Those haven't been shared. The only images have been shared are the one of the girl vaping, and that's in the article here. Let me pull up the image because this is still playing. Let's get to the end of this. Ads on the Today website, and then I'll pull this back up. But the only image we've seen are the vaping images. So, and of course let's go back. The Today Show is just auto playing stuff on this news article. So I'm going to, nope, stop auto playing. Where is the video that was connected with the article? I'm going to play that one and show you what the image was. We're just going to let it roll even with ads. So let me share. Of course, we still have Tom Cruise up. We don't need Tom Cruise still up. We need this other one still up. So I'm going to share what it is so you guys can see it, and then we can go from there. But under the laws, I think it would be very, very hard to charge this with the child-related stuff. So this is the Today news story.
Accused this morning of using so-called deep fakes to
hopefully you can hear that.
Harass members of her daughter's cheerleading team.
I think I was just so much in shock with everything going on. I couldn't really.
So this is one of the girls who had images made. She's the only one that I've seen that's speaking. Keep talking, Emily. Spoken out to the media about her experience, which I imagine was very stressful to do, because I'm sure there has been some backlash. I hope there isn't any backlash, but I'm sure there's been some like, oh my God, it's just cheerleading. Like, get over it. It's just an image of you vaping. But this is for me, it's a bigger violation, and it's a bigger violation of a sense of security and sense of autonomy to self. This is also a violation and lack of consent when somebody does this to you. So even though it might be like, oh, they made a video of her vaping, it still feels very, very violating, and can feel very violating to people. So hopefully you can hear.
Comprehend what was going on.
Maddie Heim says after getting several threatening calls and texts from unknown numbers, some even saying she should take her own life, her cheer coaches told Maddie they received this. So this is the deepfake video of her. And again, props on the cheer coaches for going to her and just being like, can we have a conversation? Because having a conversation is really what allowed, from how I'm seeing this play out, allowed this teen to actually say, yes, this is fake, and I've been getting these messages and I don't know what to do, because she didn't know where to turn. And I think that that's when we have shame involved and stuff like that, you don't know where to turn.
Video that supposedly showed her vaping. She and her mom shared it with us. They say it's fake.
I felt like if I said to someone, like no one would trust me. They have the video on proof, even though the video wasn't real.
According to court documents, images from Maddie's social media were also doctored to make it appear like she was nude and drinking. Her mother turned to police.
I didn't know how to protect her from that. I didn't know who to protect her from. There were a lot of sleepless nights.
Authorities say
I'm glad that police, A, took it seriously, and B, spent the time and resources to actually track down what happened, because this took them months and months and months to track down over essentially misdemeanor crimes. We're going to come back to this in just a second. Over misdemeanor crimes, a lot of police departments would not have done this. If this happened to a average teen under like Los Angeles Police Department jurisdiction, LAPD trying to find the resources to deal with that, or any other large police department trying to find the resources to deal with that, they'd be like, it's over a cheerleading case. You might have to sue her. Like, I don't know if we have the time or energy to track this down.
Behind it all was Rafaela Spone, whose own daughter is a teammate of Himes on the Victory Viper.
I feel horrible for this woman's daughter as well, because I don't know how you come back as a kid when your parent did that. Like, that breach of trust is also a very detrimental breach of trust for this woman's daughter as well.
Here's Cheer Squad. Spone is now charged with 3 counts each of cyber harassment of a child and harassment.
My client denies what they have charged her with, and we are going to aggressively fight this.
In a statement, the Victory Vipers said, in part, their group has always promoted a family environment, and we are sorry for all individuals involved. Deep fakes have made headlines.
They also talked about the Tom Cruise deep fakes, which, I knew about before they talked about, but it doesn't matter. We know that this is going on. This is something that's very interesting to me in how law and cybercrimes and technology all bump up together. Because when you look at this, you're just like, fuck, this is crazy. But also, what do you do? If you wanted to pursue a civil lawsuit on this, you would have to get court orders to get to figuring out who even did it, because who do you sue? The only reason they know who did it is through months of investigation, following the breadcrumbs and tying this back. They didn't know who did this until the police uncovered it and charged in March. This happened in July. So for an individual, there would have to be a lawsuit involved to get the subpoenas to try to get the technology companies to turn over the information to try to track it back. So the time and money it would take for the average individual would be a non-starter. You would file a lawsuit against a John Doe and try to figure it out. And then if they're out of the country, there's less that you can do about it because you don't know where it's coming from. And the masking technology, again, everything leaves breadcrumbs, but the better people are at masking it, the harder it is to uncover those breadcrumbs and the more time, energy, and resources it takes. And so bringing up stories like this, if this woman did not do this, this is what she's accused of. These are criminal allegations. They say there's forensic evidence that ties her back to it. I know that prosecutors charge with a reasonable belief. That doesn't always mean that they can prove that the person did the thing, but I'm talking about it because they've charged her with a crime. These are allegations. But if it's proved that she didn't do it and this was masked to set her up, then what? Because somebody did the thing. The videos are faked. The district attorneys and police have proof the videos are faked, and they tacked it back to her. They say that when they collected her phone evidence, that there was evidence on her phone. So evidence on her phone for me is like, is it someone else in your house doing it then? Okay, tell us. They're saying that the daughter didn't do it, that the daughter didn't know. In the district attorney's press release, they said that as well. But this is where we're going with technology and with deep fakes and what the laws say. I mean, if it goes state to state, you have some cyber stalking laws that involve using the internet to cause substantial emotional distress, but then you have to get someone to investigate it and keep going. It's like swatting. It's horribly damaging to the people it's done to, and very, very hard to go after civilly or criminally. And that's where this disconnect allows people to think they can just get away with doing horrible shit on the internet. And there's no good fix for that right now, I don't think. And I would like to see that changed. Conversations about this and knowing that this happened, I think allows all of us to be better citizens on the internet, but also allows people to be believed when they share their stories, and allows for encouragement, because now there's this police department. It is the Bucks County District Attorney's Office. They talk about particularly which police department investigated this and brought it to them. But now this police department hopefully can help others, saying this is how we tracked this down, because other police departments are dealing with this too. And as we're shifting police resources, cyber resources need so much more money. They just, because these are some of the biggest threats to our safety and security. When you can't believe that something you see is real, it's a real big problem, not just for businesses and for politicians, but for individuals who might be, made up to be like, oh, we need to fire Sarah because she has this video that I saw on the Pornhub. It's her. What if it's not, though? Also, maybe don't fire people over being on like OnlyFans or whatever, but we've seen that happen too, where people have been fired when it's discovered that they've been on OnlyFans. How easy would it be to create a deepfake OnlyFans account of somebody and then leak it into their workplace? It's awful. But I think I've covered this. I know there's going to be questions about it. So let's just hop into questions and have a chat about what this is and answer all your questions. If you guys haven't done the YouTube-y things, we're at 91.5 thousand subs. Thank you guys. That's a lot of law nerds and I love it. We're changing the internet one person at a time. And if you haven't thumbs up the videos and stuff like that, we've got almost 3,000 law nerds in here talking about deep fakes and cyber crimes, and I live. Let's get to questions. If you will remember to put question in front of it, it will help me for sure. 3-4 Yoda says, oh, hold on, let me move this over so I can see the questions better. I'm getting new glasses. Look. I am old, and I am old at the point where these glasses are great for some distances, but my computer's in the gray zone, and sometimes I can't read the questions because the text isn't big enough because I'm old and my eyes are getting old. And you know what the eye doctor said? Yeah, this starts to happen. You're at that age. I'm like, great. But I also want this shape glass, so I have to find new glasses. I have to have a pair for like driving and like distance, and then you don't care, but then a pair for the computer too. We're at that age where I need 17 pairs of glasses to see shit properly. 3-4 Yoda says, IMO, this seems like defamation, but slander and libel may not be applicable to the new technology of today. I'm too ill-informed. You're not ill-informed. Questions. Look, we're here to have questions and conversations, not to know everything. We're here to continue the conversation. I'm too ill-informed on cybercrime laws in my own state, let alone in PA. So defamation, defamation is the category of thing. Slander is the spoken defamation. Thank you, whoever decided slander was the word, because it's spoken. The S's help us all remember. Libel is the printed version. So technically, like a tweet would be libelous because it's text, and a video would be slanderous because it's spoken, but they're both categories of defamation. This is not a solid fit because it's not a statement trying to disparage somebody's reputation. It's a video trying to disparage somebody's reputation. And the courts would have to come around to, okay, but is the video saying, like, is the video really saying this person vapes underage? And is that a statement meant to hurt their reputation? Yes, but the law isn't quite there. Like, I haven't seen any case law, and I don't think there is, could be wrong, that would cover what happens with a statement that's not a statement because it's a deep fake. And that is such an interesting thing. So defamation in general, I heard my door open and I wasn't sure who was creeping. Defamation in general is a false statement. So could a deep fake video be a false statement legally? It's purporting to say something, but it's not a statement the way the law traditionally finds a statement. So someone would have to bring a case that would have to go up and up and up and up, which takes time, money, and patience to see if a video purporting, I mean, the video says this kid's vaping, right? But it doesn't, but it does because it shows it and it's fake. So is it a statement of fact? Is a video showing something a statement? And would the law consider it a statement? And that's why it would be tough, because a lot of people would be like, fuck it, that's a lot of money and I don't want to bother. But then what else fits? And that becomes the harassment and the intentional infliction of emotional distress becomes a little bit of an easier fit. And this is where you get these test cases, and people bring lawsuits to test them up to the Supreme Court. Will we see test cases with regard to a video purporting to show something that's not true being considered a statement? Probably at some point. Is there probably a law review article somewhere? I will look and see if I can find one, because it's very, very interesting. Blue I'm just making noises trying to pronounce your handle. I'm sorry. I304. I apologize if I've slaughtered that terribly. I'm from Bucks, and Bucks DA is really good, especially for child victims, the disabled victims. They have a special team for disabled victims, which is amazing. Prosecutorial agencies that actually have specialized units, and a lot do, can get a lot done. And I love that. So always good to hear. LA County had so many specialized units when I was a district attorney, including high-tech crimes, which was fascinating. Could a person trademark, not sure if that's the right avenue, their image to have a stronger law to, for the present, have tougher laws applied? Glamour Girl, there are laws with regard to likeness. It's hard when the likeness is being, even if it's trademarked, trademark infringement doesn't always fit, because they're not really competing with it. It would be a very tough fit for me, because trademark is normally for, and copyright's a different thing, but trademark is normally for like, hey, let's make sure we know the source of the thing. And I guess the argument would be, well, if it's my face, we need to know that I'm the source of the thing. But I don't know if the USPTO would say that a deep fake is a violation of somebody's trademark, because trademarking that likeness would be tough. But you do have laws in the realm of likeness and using likeness. Different states have different rules with regard to right of publicity and misappropriation of likeness. And the misappropriation of likeness becomes, I think, the cleaner avenue. Could you see some people trying to fit trademark into here? Yes, but trademarking a likeness would be a whole new way to use trademark, because normally images are under copyright, but you have a right to your own likeness. And in places like California, celebrities have a right to their likeness for up to 30 years, I believe, after death. Don't quote me on that. It could be less. We talked about it in the Anna Nicole, Jeffree Star situation. And there's a video on that on the channel, but I think it's timestamped. It's part of a live. So this misappropriation of likeness becomes the kind of avenue, but even those laws are older, because the crux of that is commercial or exploitative purpose. And so if it's not a commercial purpose, it's like, okay, well, is it exploitative? And then that gets into a lot of this stuff. I think it is exploitative, but the law has not evaluated these things yet, because they just don't come up. And a lot of people don't have the means to track down the person who did it. So with deepfakes, could you sue the person who made the deepfake? Yes, if you can find them. And that becomes really the crux of the issue. So for people with their likeness, I think one of the best ways to protect your likeness, if don't put it online is not an option, is to keep an eye out for what is online and to know what your rights are with regard to right to publicity and misappropriation. The other thing I will say, and then I'm going to get to a few more questions, is in the talking to and working with some different owners of cheer gyms, one of the things that was brought to light that I hadn't even thought through with young cheerleaders is how much they gain a social following. And we saw this in Cheer on Netflix, as how kind of cheer famous some of these cheerleaders become, and they are young. And so fan deepfakes for inappropriate purposes do become a huge issue, but also some of these girls are dealing with stalking with older adult male fans, taking photos of them to trade on the internet. So there's this whole other part of cheerleading that I had not really thought through. And I'm like, well, of course, anytime you know where these girls, you know where they're going to be, they have a social media following. They're flying around in the air. They're in adorable costumes. The fact that predators take advantage of that sport is difficult for me and sad. And that's it for me. That also in my mind tied into this with the deep fakes of like, oh, you're seeing people make deep fakes of their favorite celebrities. But what happens when those celebrities aren't like Jennifer Aniston celebrities who have the money to go after this if they want to, when the celebrities are cheer celebrities or crafter celebrities or YouTube celebrities? Like these are little categories where people are really well known in a little subset of what they do, but the entre celebs, but they're not necessarily multimillionaires who can just go out and fight this stuff like others are. It's just it's a whole lot, you guys. It's a whole lot. Should cybercrimes and internet offenses be treated separately from traditional criminal and civil law? Like create a separate jurisdiction and set of standards? Maybe, because the awareness is difficult and the prosecution is difficult, but the investigation is difficult. So with that, I mean, there needs to be additional training for sure, but I think there needs to be community awareness, because the reason people do things like this is for the impact, right? The reason this mother did this was to impact the girls that she wanted to negatively target. And so if we didn't have a culture where it's like, oh, if you can negatively target someone and then they're out, would people be incentivized to do this if they thought, oh, I can't just hello, Rich Lux, I can't just target this kid and then get what I want. Where can you get this shirt though? Taryn, thank you. This is on the Law Nerd Shop. We're getting an update to the shop this afternoon. So update to the shop is coming. I've seen this happen in the professional sport of gymnastics apps. I'm sure this happens to gymnasts all the time. And the thing with water polo is, even though we were running around in swimsuits, we were mostly covered by the water. So we were not we were not as exposed as gymnasts or cheerleaders would be. So would federal be the best venue for a law change, since computer servers most likely are not in the same state as the alleged crime? Dr. Riley, I think that's a great question. I think changing the federal laws helps give the states models of what to change. When it comes to changing federal laws, you also get more big brains on it. Not that I always have faith in our members of the government, but you get more brains on it, and Congress can pull in experts to address these problems. It's just whether they will, because again, at the end of the day, the question's going to come around to, well, how do we regulate this? Is it better for the platforms to regulate this? And I don't think that's the answer either. But the platforms can't be sued for allowing these things to exist because of Section 230. And I don't even know if it would be fair to, how is Facebook supposed to know if something's a deep fake or not, when they would have to dive way deeper into whether it is not a real video, and how would they even know that? So what the right avenue is, I'm not sure. I think the federal government has the most resources to address this, but eventually the conversation is going to come around to, and what about the platforms that distribute it? What then? I think the first avenue is, how do we have the laws and the resources to make it easier for individuals to get the information they need to get? But the balance there is, okay, so if an individual can just go subpoena without a court, or get information from a company without a court, how do you prove it's you trying to get the information about a video that purports to be you? How does that not get used for inappropriate purpose? And round and round and round. So these balancing of, how do you make it easier to get the information, but then not make it easier for that to be used inappropriately, is a difficult conversation. And I don't know the answers. I know for me, the answer is to start to have the conversation so that we're all aware, so that we can go, no, this is the next area where we need to protect our kids, where we need to protect each other, and where we need to be mindful that truly what you see is not necessarily what you get. I can imagine adult entertainers using computer-generated faces to protect their own identity. That wouldn't be a bad idea for this technology. Annie, there are absolutely good uses of this technology. It's the juxtaposition between a valid commercial purpose and not a valid commercial purpose. We're seeing companies use this to create digital influencers for marketing, fake influencers, not a person, digitally crafted to use influencer status, to use influencer marketing, but there's no actual person. So they're never going to be problematic. They're never going to be sending inappropriate Snapchats. They're never going to speak out in the wrong way. They're not real. But then they have huge followings and affinities because they've been crafted to check all those boxes that, you know, a real person is going to have. You get on the internet long enough, you're going to say something that offends someone, or say something that's wrong, that's flubbed, that's whatever. So now you see this wave of rising digital influencers that companies are using to promote themselves, which is the most manipulative marketing I can think of, but also they don't have to pay us an influencer to do whatever. But yes, I could see adult entertainers, or even somebody who wants to have an OnlyFans and doesn't want their face to be on it, using this to hide their true identity. And these VTubers and faceless YouTubers, I think, are growing because of the want for personal autonomy and privacy, but also the want of putting out there what they're creating. And, you know, creators like, you know, Creepshow and Corpse Husband come to mind, because Creepshow shares voiceover drawings, not her face. Corpse Husband doesn't show his face. And they do that to have a level of connection without also putting their personal safety and identity out on the internet. Do I even dare ask if jurisdiction can be questioned, since the internet is the Wild West? Jurisdiction is difficult in things like this. In this particular case, they're all close in space, in physical location, but otherwise it's going to become where is the person? If we can find the person, where are the computer servers, which is what we're seeing in the Johnny Depp case. They're in Virginia because that's where the printing presses were. What's the tie? And where are servers? But also that takes money to investigate, to find that information. So yes, jurisdiction can be an absolute issue. I agree, Aussie Annie, that the law needs to catch up. And these are conversations that aren't going to catch up quickly, because the conversation we just had that went like this, of like, how do we make it easier and still allow it to not be taken advantage of for improper purpose, is the round and round that's going to happen. But it needs to be discussed. Question: can't somebody get these Instafakes takes down quickly, at least for copyright? If it is not the person, they can try to get the platform to take it down. Facebook has said they're not taking down deep fakes. So if it was a deep fake of somebody's voice, it's like, oh, well, that's my voice. It's like, right, but you didn't say that. So you don't really have the copyright because you didn't create the video. So it becomes this impersonating someone else. And that would probably be the best way to attack it with the platforms, is impersonating someone else. In the case that we're talking about with the mom in Pennsylvania who did this to the 3 teens, she didn't distribute it on social media platforms. She distributed it to the coaches and to the teens themselves to try to induce harm. Like, I will tell you what, if somebody starts texting my kid something that is going to shame them and then suggest to them that they should kill themselves, the criminal law is not going to feel like enough for me. Like, you getting a misdemeanor doesn't feel like enough for me if you've said that to my child. It's not enough. And that's where the frustration comes in, because like the mama rage and the law are at odds. Question: hasn't there been precedent based on published or shared photography that could apply? Pure Fairy, I think there probably is some. It's just when it gets into copyright, I think there probably is some, but the copyright normally goes with the person who created it. So if the creator's creating the image, then it goes to them, even though the image is of somebody else's likeness. And this is where that right to publicity starts to bump up against this. But I think it's a good question. I like this. Think of L as libel as L for letters. I like L for letters. I'm doing it. L for letters. You can't scare me on stream because I can hear my door opening, but for sure. All right. Libel for literature. There we go. I'm a little behind on the chat, so I'm going to try to, if I missed your question, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to catch up to get to some of these questions. Oh, how are the Paw Nerds? they are settling in. They are still not ready at all to be on camera. They're not ready at all for that. But they will absolutely, I think, be here soonish. And so let me keep catching up on the chat as we're going. Can this go under identity theft? It depends on the way the identity theft is written in the particular state. So, and it depends on how it's used. So sometimes maybe. The problem with identity theft is getting buy-in from the police to track down the person that's creating it. That becomes a huge issue with putting it under identity theft. I prosecuted a lot of identity theft crimes. It can be very tough to investigate it, especially when we're dealing with high-tech crimes, but not a lot of like outcome. Because at the end of the day, I can see a police department, and I'm not saying it's right. I can see a police department looking at this being like, okay, but your kid's okay, right? And they didn't get kicked off the cheer team, right? Okay, I mean, we don't have the resources to spend months tracking down who created this thing. So I'm sorry. Let us know if it happens again, and maybe we can go after the harassing phone calls, which is why I think the harassment's charged in this case, because the harassing text messages are much easier to prove than trying to fit the deep fakes into an area of criminal law. So let me continue on with questions. Can they not charge her with more because the law doesn't cover online and cybercrime, or because her actions do not fulfill the requirements? Her actions don't fulfill the requirements based on the district attorney's statements. And that's what I'm going off of, because I am not licensed in Virginia. I don't practice in Virginia. But based on the DA's statements, these are the crimes that fit with the behavior. And that was the cyber harassment of a child and harassment. So they didn't, the making of the imagery didn't fit. Anything with regarding to a child in a compromising way didn't fit. So I know a DA is going to sit there and go, this sucks, and try to find everything they can to fit. And they found these two things that fit. So that is what it is. There's so much to say on this, but not enough space to share my experience with this. Diane, I completely understand. It's one of the limitations of the live chat for sure. I know I'm going to miss a few questions. I apologize for missing a few questions. Natalie, lawyer chick, we need to collab, friend. I love your channel. So, and I am so glad to see you here. Hello. Good to see you. Another reason to leave Facebook. Facebook said they weren't going to take down deep fakes. But again, I can understand okay, but if, give me a moment with give me a moment with Facebook. Let's say, for instance, we're going to use a creator of a video creep show put up about Tulin, and Tulin's video as well about her own experience. This is a Black creator in the art commentary space who shared instances of horrific racist hate towards her. So she shared what she had experienced herself, the comments she has experienced. I've seen other creators do this, sharing the horrible things that are said to them in DAs and on their comments, in DMs and on their comments. So if she posts that video, and then somebody who had made those horrible comments to her said, oh, that's a fake, that I didn't really make that comment, take it down. You could then weaponize that against people sharing stories that need to get out there. Now, the social media platforms throttled her videos, her tweets, and almost shut down her Instagram because she was sharing things that were done to her that got lumped into their guide about hate speech. And she's like, I'm not being hateful towards other people. People are being hateful towards me. And I'm trying to let people see that this shit still happens on the internet. And how can I share my voice that this shit still happens on the internet if you're going to shut down my account for hate speech that was done against me? So this is where that problem comes in. So if somebody can weaponize it and go to Facebook and be like, they're saying I said this comment, that's fake, I never said it, and Facebook takes it down, then you lose the ability to share things that are actually happening. And that's where this push-pull is between, what if somebody actually says something that is newsworthy, that needs to be out there, even if it's horrible, we need to see what's happening. And then the person who did the thing says, that's a deep fake, take it down. How does Facebook then decide that that's a deep fake and throttle the story or not? Like, where is that balancing act, and how much resources do they put towards deciding? And that's where there's this balance of how much are the platforms responsible for this? What do they censor? What don't they censor? That it's a real problem, because whenever there's this balance of hate speech on the internet is a problem, but then when people share their experiences, it gets throttled, that's a problem too. And where's the balance between the two? And sometimes the balance of open speech is, if people are going to be hateful out on the internet, at least you see who they are. But then the other balance is, but then the internet becomes a really ugly and awful place to be. And so, I mean, Twitter is more aggressive than others on it, and you can report abusive speech. But I can see why Facebook's like, this is what we're not going to do on deep fakes, because it can also be weaponized the other way. So I see it. I love seeing the love for Natalie Lawyer Chick in the chat, you guys. Law nerds, you're the best nerds. I love that. Question, do you think the law is so slow to catch up is because lawmakers, politicians still don't think all the technology is going to disappear soon? Victoria, I think the conversation, as you sit here in the chat and with me as we're going around, I think this is part of the problem, is balancing the rights of individuals, and the law is part of it, but also balancing the amount of money that politicians get from tech companies and the tech companies. Because if we start to put more onus on the tech companies, is it really their job to regulate what's on their platforms or not? And that's a balancing act that there's a lot of money involved in, and that makes it difficult too. So there's benefits to deepfake technology. We've talked about that. Like, everybody gets to see, characters or actors that have since passed in movies. Do we want that to happen? I don't know. Tupac performed at Coachella. Do we want that to be a thing? Do we not want that to be a thing? I don't know. But there's this valid purpose for art, for creativity, for media, but then there's this really deep negative purpose of it too. And how do we balance those things? And how do we balance protecting each other from this being done? I don't know the answer to that. There's a big push-pull, and that's why I think it takes so long to catch up, because when there's interest to regulate it, there's also interest to not regulate it. And you can't just ban the technology. I don't think that's the right answer either. But clearly we can't have nice things and just respect people to be like, can't we just continue to make them, what are they called when they're music and you just put somebody's face on the thing? Can't we just have that? Why can't we just have some fun parodies and not make it dark and twisty and horrible? Is integrity something that social media platforms can even address? I don't know. I think we need to see social media platforms first applying their own terms of service equally. That's the first step. But also money's involved. So there's that. Jessica says, with the rate which new technology is released, realistically, how will law, which is notoriously slow to change, ever catch up? I think it's a continuation. It's a continuing to press forward and having these conversations, because as cases go up, you're going to start seeing the case law change. We saw this yesterday when we talked about jurisdiction. We saw cases that are, decades and decades old still are the precedent for how we evaluate these things. And some of those older precedents can still be evaluated in new ways with new ideas. But doing that balances the rights of the person being accused of things, because we have constitutional protections. So not allowing the law to overreach. Again, we're not going to see the law fix every harm, which is why there needs to be two parts of this conversation. What are the repercussions if this happens to you? How do you make it right? But then also, if we are aware this happens, taking it one step further to say, okay, we're aware that this is a thing, but this can be a thing in criminal law that's going to have to be evaluated, because it's like, oh, well, there's a video of this guy doing this. Well, is there? Is there though? How do we know that video is authentic? So authenticating evidence is absolutely implicated in all of this. But in criminal law and in civil law, more in criminal, you see this chain of custody. You see it in civil too, but in criminal, you get a lot more video evidence and what have you. How do we know that the thing is the thing? And proving, okay, like if there is a robbery at a gas station and there's video, how do we know that that's the video of the time? Well, the clerk saw the thing happen and said, okay, and then I went to our system and our system exported this video and this video was exported here. And then the exported video was given to this person. And you get that chain of custody of how things are protected to make sure that they are authentic. This becomes a new level of how do we prove that the thing is the thing? The receipts are going to get much more interesting to keep. And it's hard. It's absolutely a hard thing. I think conversations, this is where I got a field. I think conversations to make sure that we're asking questions, and this is where the need for critical thinking comes in, so that when we see something, we ask the next question. Okay, well, where did that come from? Is that a clip from a longer video? Did we see it? Have we heard it? Is it real? Can you go to somebody's Twitter account and see that tweet up? Are there multiple screenshots from multiple people saying the thing is the thing? How do we know? And I think that healthy questioning of let's ask first, is this accurate? And then move on to the rest of our analysis of a thing is the first part and one of the most important parts. Glowy Nikki, I didn't mean to miss your super chat. I'm sorry. I will go look for it. I will find it. I didn't mean to miss it. They do jump sometimes on me, but I'll go back and find it and make sure we got everything for sure. And I've got a few more that came in that I'm going to try to get to. Stephanie says, could the owner creator of these videos and nude images possibly go after the mom for improper illegal use? Absolutely. The mom could go after the creator of the videos. Will they do that? Depends. Now they know who it is. It's easier to go after it civilly. Will they choose to do that? Is going to be up to them. And again, the decision to go after civil litigation is a balancing act. It is a push-pull of resources and what you hope to get out of it and how far you're willing to go to get that out of it. It might be vindication enough for the teens that are involved in this, that this is a national story and they're bringing awareness to what was done to them. For them, that might be the win. The criminal investigation might be the win, but sharing their story might be the win. So it just really depends. I can also imagine Fred and George chilling in the chair. I look forward to when they start exploring this side of the house. They're not quite ready yet. They're very little, but they have their own Instagram. So I share videos of them on Instagram, and I'll link that in my story today because I do have a little Instagram for them so I can share them with everyone without just flooding everybody who's like, I don't care about cat pictures. Fine, you can go over there. Also, my kids want to film them and make little cat videos of them because they're adorable and they're settling in. Luna said, I love that we're starting these conversations, but if we're serious about changing these laws, where did we start past these conversations? How can we get started getting the ball moving? It's going to start with the lawmakers. So that can be in your state, that can be in your locality, and that can be in the people that you elect to Congress and the Senate, and asking them, where do you stand on updating the laws? I haven't looked to see if there's a movement right now towards pushing cybercrime laws. We just had an election. I imagine it's not first 100 days stuff, but asking you can call your congressman and be like, hey, are we pushing any legislation with regard to like deep fakes and cyber harassment? Like what's going on? Where are we moving? What's happening? And really looking at, there are different digital integrity associations that work on this too. So that is one place to start. But as I find other resources, I will absolutely share them. I did not look at more resources, but I absolutely will because I think that that's a need. So for my birthday today, announce a Nat M collab. I will connect with Natalie Lawyer Chick. I will slide into the DMs. I will DM and ask, and we will figure it out. I'm sure it just has to make sense for everybody. Not everybody's a full-time. Did I pronounce Thuman wrong? I'm so sorry, but yes, if I pronounce Thuman wrong, and I will link her channel down below. I apologize. I do pronounce things wrong sometimes. So let me get a few more questions. I know I missed a few super chats, and then I'll go back into the back end and look to see. Originally wanted to go to law school, ended up with a comm degree, but love listening to you as supplemental education. Megan Long, there's a lot to do with the communications degree because a lot of this stuff is related to communications because that's the point. Like, why make a deep fake if you're not going to get some kind of outcome, right? So that's it for sure. But the conversations, I love that you guys are here for the conversations. Thank you so much. Yes, Rachel, they are on Instagram. So I will absolutely post the link to their Instagram, and I put them on my Instagram, but I'll absolutely link their Instagram. Also, do you think tech will lead to more identification tech in public places? I mean, it depends. In the UK, you already have a lot of it. In the US, you already have a lot of fights against it. So I don't know if we will see to it, more facial identification technology. There's definitely a push-pull between individual privacy and things like facial identifying software and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think there's still privacy rights that are constitutional in the US that need to be minded in all of this. So that's part of why this takes time, because there is definitely a push pull for sure. I'm going to try to find, I know what I missed. Hello, SC. There's such a problem with cyberbullying, especially on Twitter, where people use their anonymity to say things they wouldn't normally say. Absolutely. We see people act a total mess on Twitter. And that's why a lot of people choose not to be on Twitter. And yes, you can report things, but the ease of just making a new Twitter account is something that is problematic, and it's not linked to anything, at least with other. Even if it was linked to a phone number, it wouldn't slow people down all that much, but it's not linked to anything identifying, which is the plus and minus of social media, right? Let me see. Question, any idea why most police departments haven't gotten with the times and created larger cybercrimes units? Money. I know money, but still it's only going to get bigger. Money. I mean, money, because at the end of the day, the stuff that's going to come first are the emergency calls, and most of the emergency calls aren't regarding cyber crimes. And the emergency calls are the threats to life and safety. And that, for a lot of police departments, they're scrambling to keep up with that. So money becomes an issue in all of this, and where police resources go. If police are struggling to keep up with calls, then their energies are on patrol, not on cyber. There's also barriers to entry with tech and time for smaller police departments. So does that become, the FBI and Secret Service needing to have bigger task force that help local police agencies deal with this? Perhaps. I went to a great cyber training that was years ago now with the Secret Service, and it was absolutely fascinating, but not all departments have the ability to bring in that kind of training and to have those experiences. So there's money at the end of the day is the biggest issue with this. And I think it's becoming more needed. But again, somebody being shot and somebody being terrorized online in the eyes of law enforcement are two very different things. And somebody being terrorized, we can get to it later. Somebody being shot is an immediate need. So there's a balance there too, though. I will say the trauma that comes with each, and I've seen people go through each. I've not experienced each, thankfully, but there are psychological traumas that come with both. And being terrorized online and not knowing where it's coming from is a very unnerving and unsettling experience. And it's hard to feel like you can do anything. It really, when you talk about victimizing people, it absolutely victimizes people to the point where they're afraid and they don't know who to trust. And it's huge. It's huge. How much of these kinds of issues regarding slow and improper legislation relate to the age of lawmakers? I think that's a part of it, but I also think it's like order of priority. And it also has to do with who's paying for our legislatures and the money that comes into it. There's a lot of tech money in government on all sides. And so sometimes when these things bump up, I would like to see large tech companies help with this and help figure out ways to at least identify what the thing is. Will that happen? I don't know. I just don't know. But yes, our lawmakers are old. Authenticity matters, but censorship or limiting tech is not a solution. Emily, I agree with you. And that's where the push-pull comes in. Statistically, do victims feel vindicated by criminal charges or civil? I don't know the statistics on that. I don't know if there are studies on that. I don't have an answer for that. But what I have found in my time dealing with both is that nothing takes away what was done to a person. A criminal conviction doesn't make it go away. Civil, sometimes you can feel vindicated when a judge is like, you're right, that person's wrong. But it depends what it was done, because it's at what cost. At what cost to get to a judge to say, you're right, you're wrong. Because if you know in your heart that you're right, does a judge saying it make it all that much better? So I don't know how vindicated people feel. I know that sometimes with criminal law, victims feel like at least this won't happen to anyone else. And that becomes a source of solace because it never undoes what was done to them. Some people are just put them in prison forever, and I won't feel vindicated until that happens. And in criminal law, that's not always the right answer either. So the only thing I've seen help people feel whole is the healing that they go through on their own. The criminal justice system and the civil system are punitive. They're meant to punish. They don't necessarily make people whole after what's been done to them. They don't undo what's been done. Healing is the thing that does that. Sometimes having a conviction can help with healing, but normally it's so far down the line that the healing has to start on its own. And the system is not great for providing that vindication, if you will. But it's a great question, and I appreciate it being asked. All right, I'm going to look back in and see if I can find anything that I missed, and then it's going to be time to wrap up because we still have shop stuff to do. We still have shop stuff to do over here. There's still work day that needs to happen. I'm gonna ask one more time for you all to do the YouTubey things. If you're in here still, I appreciate it. This is a great conversation, and we're going to continue to have it. There's more research I want to do on this. I have been behind on the Emily research that I like to do because like shit keeps getting filed in these lawsuits, and I'm hoping we have a little bit of a break. Chloe Nikki, I'm sorry I missed it. Your super chat was, as a mom, this is horrific and so disgusting. I wish laws would update with the times. Love you so much, Emily, mods, and law nerds. Thank you so much, Chloe Nikki. I agree, and I don't know what the right answer is to get that fixed other than starting with the conversation. And starting with the conversation is where it is. That's what we're going to do. When I say that I value conversation over everything else, it's because that's how we start to work around, okay, over censorship's a problem. Complete anonymity can also be a problem. Okay, how do we blend these ideas and come up with answers? And how do we talk about it? With a growing need to authenticate receipts, how could this affect overall costs of a case? It will increase them. Could it price people out of senior level options because of the possible extra expenses? There can definitely be a chilling effect on pursuing your rights in court because of the expense. I think that already happens now, but yes, there could absolutely be a chilling effect to it. And there's a chilling effect to criminal prosecution already because of cost. And again, in this Pennsylvania case, I can honestly see a lot of police departments just being like, and what the fuck do you want us to do about this? Like, I'm sorry that this happened to your daughter. Have you tried asking her again if it was her? Okay, you're saying it's fake. How do you want us to track that down? Like, I don't have 6 months to run this down. We've got other shit to do. I can absolutely see that happening. And that's a problem too, because these crimes are very serious. The action is serious. I can't say the crimes are serious because this woman with the mom who's accused of doing this is 50 years old with no record and charged with 2 misdemeanors. So it's the consequences. I think the societal consequences are going to be bigger for her because this is a national news story than the criminal repercussions. But I'm glad it became a national news story because now we're having a conversation about things that are difficult and amorphous and and needed conversations, because we can all, look at deepfake Tom Cruise on TikTok and be like, oh my God, that's crazy and funny and weird. But if we don't talk about, okay, but what if it's you? What if it's you saying something horrible? What if it's you saying something horrible and then sent to your boss? What if it's you saying something horrible as a creator and then sent to a sponsor? What if it's you being exploited? What if it is you being trapped with fake blackmail by an ex that you're trying to get away from? It's like, what if it's you, the CEO of a company, and it's fake and somebody releases it and it tanks your stock price? Oh, what if? So what if it's a world leader? It's scary. How will this play in criminal cases where video evidence was key in prosecution, but this technology was available at the time? Can a defendant ask for a retrial to investigate tampering? It depends if there's any evidence of that and what the chain of custody was. So it would really be fact specific depending on what the chain of custody was. I wish I could give a better answer than that. It's very, very fact specific. If there's issues with chain of custody, it would make it easier to ask for that. Thank you, Brandy. I try to do it. Thank you. I try. I agree with you, John Barton. Just to let you guys know, there's no such thing now as 100% anonymity online. There's always a small digital footprint somewhere. There is. And I know that faceless creators worry about that because, we hear Corpse Husband talking about it, saying, I don't want to be outed as like this person living in this place is the person that goes by Corpse Husband online. He's like, I know it will inevitably happen, not through my own choosing. And I feel bad that that's like something that reigns over creators, but I can also understand wanting not your name and your face attached to everything you do online, because being an online creator brings scrutiny, it brings conversation, and it brings sometimes things that are just out of left field. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. So I get it. I get why people want to be anonymous online, but yes, they can't be 100% anonymous. It's whether people are willing to take the time. It's why the doxing laws need to be stronger too, but also a better understanding of doxing. And that's a conversation for another day about doxing, which is releasing people's private details online in a public way. There's a push-pull between, well, what if it's, behind a paywall and you can kind of find it, so it's not all the way private? Like, what is even private when it comes to doxing? What is readily available? On and on and on. This verification stuff always makes me think of The Circle. Me too. And how creepy and invasive that got. Yes. And I think we're seeing in our literature and our art, people starting to explore these concepts. And that's where we explore these things, right? Movies and literature start to explore the what ifs through story in a way that we're trying to figure out these concepts. I didn't share it very much, Jakes. I'm sorry. I will share Fred and George's Instagram on social media, and I will share it in a link to this video. So that will get shared. Oh, thank you, Tech Valor. She shared it. Yeah, I gave them an Instagram, so I didn't. So those of you that just wanted to see all of what my kittens are up to could, and those of you that are just like, I'll check in when I want to, aren't spammed with adorable kitten videos. The movements to defund the police don't big picture or think about how the police help globally. Defunding police prevents cybercrime task force. I mean, in a lot of areas, the defunding did come from areas like that. And I think there's a difference between reimagining police. For me, there's a difference between reimagining policing and defunding policing, where most of the reimagining policing can't happen if it's defunded, because you can't do better without the resources to do better. So, yeah, most police departments aren't drowning in money, Rena. So most aren't drowning in money from my experience. Questions: with Jill Biden and VP Harris, do you think they could pull together a think tank to cover the laws and kids as a way to start with former tech leaders? I think anything is possible. And I hope for me, items of technology and laws with protecting people online shouldn't be as political as they become. There is a push-pull between privacy rights and protection. That push-pull exists in all laws, I think. So it shouldn't become politicized. And I hope that we can find a way to depoliticize protecting each other in the online space from shit like this. I hope so. And I would think that politicians would have an impetus to do it because they could very easily be very significantly impacted by deepfake technology very easily. So I think that is, I'm always hopeful. Different departments do, and I think some departments make sure that they work with the FBI and have cyber investigations units, and some don't. And a lot of the bigger cyber investigations deal with larger, breaches of banks and large scale frauds and things like that. They don't deal with, not to downplay what happened to this, but they don't deal with 4 teenagers in Pennsylvania and a mom making deep fakes. A lot of them deal with large cyber crimes, but for the 4 people involved in this cyber crime, it's huge to them, and trying to balance resources there, I think, is really important. Please don't change your glasses. I'm going to have to get another pair for being online, but I'm trying to find the same or similar frames for sure. I'm going to do 2 more questions, and then I'm going to say goodbye because I've wrapped up like 6 times. Diana, thank you very much. I don't think it helps that platforms themselves have become very political with their application of their own rules. Agreed. If it applied equally, there would be less politicization. I agree with you. I think the polarizing, I don't know who, well, I have speculation on who polarizing everybody benefits, but I generally think that polarizing everybody doesn't benefit us, for sure. How many ounces do your mugs hold? Well, this one I think is 16, 20, 20. But the mugs that I have in the Law Nerds shops are listed on them. There's an 11 ounce and a 15 ounce. So that's what it is. I'm going to get to 2 more questions. Thank you. These are Tiffany frames. They are old. One of the arms is wonky, and I'm very sus that it's going to break on me. So that is what it is. Funniest thing the kittens have done so far. The kittens scare one another. And so you get a lot of that like crazy jumping Halloween cat puffy thing, which is pretty funny. So they do definitely freak each other out on occasion. They stalk each other. They have quite a lot of fun together, which is why we wanted to bring in litter mates. Since we don't have any other pets in the house, bringing in litter mates worked, and it's very fun to see them interact. They're adorable. They get very, very tired. Like they play hard and they sleep hard. So is doxing civil or criminal? That's a fantastic question. It depends on the jurisdiction. It can be both depending on where it happens. And there are some federal laws that kind of apply. It's getting better. And states are getting better at dealing with doxing, but it's this push-pull of what's public information, what's not public information. Like how far down the rabbit hole do you have to go to find something before it's doxing? Because like if it's in a court document and you make it public, is that doxing? Well, it's in a public record. Yeah, but the public record's behind a paywall, but it's publicly available. You're just connecting the two. So if you take a creator like a corpse husband and be like, oh, this is his name. Well, his name's public record, but you're now creating the name to the face that's anonymous. Is that a dox? Yes. But would some argue, well, it was public record over here. I found it and connected the two. So, yep. Question, could the girl sue civilly? I know I touched on that a little bit earlier. Yes, I think there is room. It's going to depend on what the laws are there and what was suffered. So in the harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress realm, yes, would it be interesting to see somebody go after that in a defamation realm, saying this video is purporting to say that I vape to damage my reputation so that I get kicked off the team and there's a consequence, but I don't vape. So is that a defamatory statement? Is a video a statement? We don't know. We don't know. Deep fakes become very scary when politics are involved. I agree with you. I agree with you. Everyone, we have been live for like 2 hours. I am going to wrap up. I appreciate all of you. This was a fantastic conversation. Thank you for being willing to have the conversation, to talk about what's going on, and to just continue to be interested and to care about how we're all moving forward as digital citizens. At some point, are we going to have like a world court to deal with these cyber crimes? I don't know. Could I see it happening? Maybe. Does this all go to the Hague Cyber Crimes Division, where if somebody in another country does something that damages you, it can all just go into a cyber crimes division and we all appear digitally in court? I don't know. Is that the direction this is going? Maybe. But it's needing thought and exploration and discussion to see if that's where eventually we go to like a world court to deal with cyber, because a lot of the times the people who are doing this aren't in the same country as you. So my final thoughts. I have final thoughts. Be mindful that this is aware online. So when you see something, the critical thinking is always helpful to be like, okay, is this all of the story? Is this true? What else do I know? To be mindful, especially for those of you that have kids, even kids in your 20s, to let them know that this is a thing. I'm sure they are aware, but that it's not a thing to be ashamed of, and that they need to start reaching out for help with somebody that they trust if they think this is happening to them, and then figuring it out from there. With regards to having the conversation, having institutions and especially like employment places being willing to say, is this true versus I saw this, get out now, is going to be tremendously helpful when it comes to people using deep fakes as a form of cancellation or a form of embarrassment and harassment, and then continuing to look at how the laws are changing or are not changing with regard to cyber crimes. It's just the beginning of the conversation. We're going to keep having this conversation. This is going to keep happening, and we are going to keep talking about it. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you, as always, for being here, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, guys. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, LawNerdsUnite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.